Let's get right into it with our top of the day story. Something that was reported originally by Jeff Passan from ESPN. So let's get into that. This past week, the Defense Department webpage on Jackie Robinson was taken down, and then returns among, as you guys may well know, I know most people watch sports for for an escape from all the things happening in the rest of the world, but there has been a concerted effort to remove things that are that are associated with the DEI and diversity and inclusiveness in the government, and unfortunately, Jackie Robinson was part of that. As you can see here, he also served in the military, on top of breaking the color barrier and being one of the best second basemen of all time in MLB history. Now, baseball fans noticed, Jeff Passan being one of them, and had to ask some questions. Why was Jackie Robinson taken down? Because we're talking about Jackie Robinson's legacy. This was a quote actually from Jeff Passan yesterday on Sirius XM. Talked with myself and Danny Wexelman. He said, quote, "If there's anyone in American history with an approval rating of 100%, it's probably Jackie Robinson." And what his point was, you know, if you are trying to send a message, or if you're trying to, I don't know, like get the point across, maybe he's not the guy to do it with. So there's been a lot of backlash on social media and stuff. I'm not going to talk about that stuff, but I will say that when it comes to DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, Jackie Robinson's one of the kind of the legends of that entire process. He's a prime example of that needing to happen, because without it, he wouldn't have been given an opportunity to play in a league that he should have been in because of the color of his skin. Like that is the spirit in which these programs came from. So maybe not the best example. It made me a little bit angry to see it happen, a little bit. You know, it's been fixed. So there's that. However, I think it's a silly thing to lump everybody in. I have a lot of opinions on the benefit of system or programs like this, and the active, purposeful approach to giving as many opportunities to many people as possible, so that you do get the best people in the positions that you want. That is literally the essence of it. But to see a quote like this from, and let's just put it this way, justice has been served for this person. This person has been moved out of their role because, frankly, this is the only non-baseball thing I'm going to say today, but let me do it because you know me, I like to get a little bit hot and wear somebody out. Department of Defense Press Secretary John Uliat referred to DEI as discriminatory equity ideology, which is absolutely the dumbest thing I've ever heard. It's the exact opposite of that. And if you thought for 10 seconds, you would know that that's not true. But this is a quote: "It's a form of woke cultural Marxism and divides the force, erodes unit cohesion, and interferes with service's core warfighting mission." How? Hey, John, shut up. What's it with people named John? I'm sorry if you're in the chat, your name's John. I don't mean you. I mean him and John Fisher. Just the absolute, just numbskull, low effort. Just like he's like, what are a bunch of buzzwords I can say that don't actually mean what I think they mean? This person has served in the military for decades and is confusing wokeness with Marxism. I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, he is no longer in that job, so at least that happened. But we got Jackie Robinson back up. But I'm going to throw this John Uliat guy right in there with my other John Fisher. If you're in you shut up, dork. There we go. I'll hit you with one of those. All right, let's move on. Because I don't want to talk about this all day, because I could, trust me. But I don't want to, because I know you don't want to hear it from me anyways. Let's get into some news. Quite a few things happened here going into the final week of spring training as we get ready to open up the season. Though we did have the technical opening day already happen, technically, in Tokyo, which was amazing. Guys, if you haven't seen the intro, the Pokemon intro to the Tokyo games, You need to. It's incredible. Hello, everybody in chat, by the way. I see you guys up there, Insanity and Farhad. All right. Spencer Strider continued to come back from his elbow surgery. Wasn't quite as clean as it was in the past. He allowed 2 earned runs, 3 runs total in an inning and 2/3. Wasn't super sharp. I think he would say he was about sharp as a marble. That's what I used to say. But he did comment on how he felt. I feel good and I feel confident that my stuff is in a good spot. I don't feel like the game is speeding up on me right now. I just need to keep getting reps. There's really no way to simulate the stamina and prepare for going 90-plus pitches a game other than to do it. And he's right. But one thing we need to remember with Strider, if he is not in like dominant form until mid-May or so, and you know, is getting the juices flowing once again, kind of like when Garrett Cole came off his injury last year, and it took him like about a month to kind of get back into Garrett Cole, level. That's probably what's going to happen with him. But he feels good. So Spencer Strider looks like he is going to be back sooner rather than later for the Atlanta Braves, which they need and has. Now that I'm thinking about it, going to affect my predictions that we're about to do later in the show. The Orioles made history, well, at least Orioles history, by throwing a 7-pitch combined no-hitter, the first one in spring training history for them. It's a team with a lot of years as a team as well. So that's pretty impressive. You would think this would happen more often with a lot of like younger guys coming up. You kind of do shift changes and stuff, but kind of do it with the pitching side too. So kind of a rare thing. Being part of a no-hitter is pretty awesome. I myself started one once. I only threw 3 innings, but it can't take it away. So shout out to the Orioles getting their first no-hitter ever in spring training. Also, a little side note there, because I don't believe I have this in notes. Kyle Gibson re-signed with the Orioles as some veteran depth, as I knew he would. I didn't know what team, but I knew he would eventually get signed towards the end of spring training, and it happened. So at least one prediction happened. At least there's that. In a little bit more somber news, Rays ace Shane McClanahan is going to start his season on the IL after feeling some discomfort in his throwing arm, namely his tricep. Thank God. Did not look pretty at all, and I saw it in real time. Did not get me too excited. So let's give it a little give it a little gander.
What can be discerned from this?
Oof.
Does not look good initially. We'll wait and see.
And that right there is a look of disappointment.
But
walks off.
McClanahan coming off the mound and headed back toward the clubhouse. So we'll
to see it. Hate to see
keep you
it.
posted as soon as we.
Shane, at first I could tell just by the general reaction when you're coming back from Tommy John, if you feel anything in your elbow at all, you immediately go to, God dang it, like immediately. It's the most frustrating thing on the planet. You're like, now what? Like, now what? Like, you just imagine, like, okay, I can't do that again. I can't go through this rehab. I can't. You just spin, right? It turns out it's like a nerve issue. That what he felt was like it feels like someone's flicking your nerve, which it's like funny bone, which as everyone probably watching knows, you hit that thing hard enough, it feels like your life is ending. That's more or less what happened to him. And when you're coming off Tommy John and you're ramping up and getting like back to full speed, sometimes things crop up. I had shoulder fatigue right away. I remember I went back on the IL 6 days after I was activated after 16 months rehab. So at that point, I thought I was done with baseball. I was in AAA, and in 3 days I was fine. So he doesn't have a timetable to return. They're going to probably just figure out, see how it. When it calms down, see how it feels and get him ramped back up. But not great sign for the Tampa Bay Rays at all. Julio Rodriguez, though, brought some positive news for the Mariners, which they haven't had a lot. Can speak from experience there. But he makes Grand Slam history, hitting 2 Grand Slams in the same spring training. According to Sarah Langs MLB researcher and overall legend. Rodriguez became the 6th player in the last 20 seasons with 2 Grand Slams in a single spring training, joining Bobby Dahlbeck, Yan Gomes, Albert Almora Jr., Steven Cardullo, and Alex Liddy. Wow. What a group of names there. Though he is hitting 222 for the spring, he does have 5 home runs. So, if it's increased power we get out of Julio Rodriguez up here in Seattle, I think that everyone will take that. I think we'll be pretty happy. Mookie Betts, still sick, still on the sidelines with an undiagnosed illness, down to 157 pounds. Now, at first, I thought this headline said down 157 pounds, and I would ask him, how do I get that? Because, my God, am I fat? That he's down 25 pounds. So this is concerning on a lot of levels, okay? In the history of baseball, there's been a lot of guys dealing with sometimes, like, stomach bugs for a long period of time. Kyle Gibson, who I mentioned earlier, he had ulcerative colitis. Jake Diekman has had ulcerative colitis since he was a kid. Like, these are things that make them lose weight, and it's hard to keep on weight. It sounds similar to that. It could be mono. It could be IBS. Franklin Gutierrez went through that for years. It's like one of those things that you just feel tired and fatigued all the time. And when it comes to that stuff, like, you can't do anything. So I feel for him. Mookie, like, they need him, right? I had him having a really good year. But they haven't figured it out yet, which is, that's scary. If it's because they're seeing the best doctors, and that's something you just don't want to mess around with. So I'm thoughts are out to Mookie and the family. I'm scared I'd be on baseball for him. You don't want those things to linger, but hopefully it's just something, a long version of a stomach. Hopefully not a stomach parasite or something, but like some light version of mono or something that is keeping food down tough, and that rest will inevitably get him back. But yeah, being down, that's crazy. Being down 20 pounds in spring is nuts. Though I do need to lose weight, but I don't think I want to lose weight that way. Also, Gunar Henderson joining the injured list. Not great news for the Orioles. He is kind of their stud, the guy they're going to lean on to do a lot of the producing in the middle of their lineup. So not having him for any extended period of time won't be great. However, it does seem like it's just an intercostal. For those of you who don't know, intercostals are like those little muscles between your ribs. It's where it's where your like lats and your obliques and everything kind of connect into your rib cage and turn you. So like, your back muscles pull on your rib cage to turn you with your erectors. Sorry, it's like I'm doing a lecture now. Anyway, they're little muscles. A lot of times it's like associated with twisting. Hitters get it all the time. And it's one of those things like if it hurt or tight or sore, you can't do anything without it stopping. And so it's good just to get on top of it. You don't want that to nag you all year, because then you just turn into hitting 200 with a 500 OPS and everyone's like, this guy stinks. When in reality, your intercostal hurts the whole time. So he's young. He's like, what is he, like 19 years old still? He's going to be fine. I would assume 4 to 6 weeks. Notice him in May coming back with a vengeance. Hopefully the Orioles get off to a good start so that they can handle not having him for a while. Vladimir Guerrero still in the news. We keep talking about him. Blue Jays president Mark Shapiro optimistic that Vlad will end up signing an extension in Toronto. Now, there's a very interesting kind of take here. I was asked by Danny Wexman, why, Trevor? Why? If they both feel, because we've heard from Vladdy that that's what he wants. He wants to stay in Toronto. And now we hear from Mark Shapiro that he's very optimistic that he will stay in Toronto. And then we've also heard from Vlad's camp and his agency and the people that represent him that they asked for way less than Soto asked. Well, I hope you did, but number far lower than $600 million, which, okay. So it seems like both sides like, we really want this to work this out. So that gives you hope. But why haven't they done it? And the answer to that question is leverage. It's always about leverage. The longer you wait, there's just natural built-in kind of like deadlines throughout a season where you need to get things done. Not just like the trade deadline. I'm talking about the winter meetings are one, spring training is one, opening day is one. Like, you want to kind of be in a good place by some of these deadlines. And when it comes to free agency, it's when the season ends is usually a big one, and when the season starts, which is a big one. And leverage changes in a lot of different ways. On Vlad's side, they think that there could be a market, and that market out in free agency can help them negotiate the extension, saying, if I go to the market, I'm going to get way more money, so why would I do this? Now, if they feel like that market isn't going to coalesce, which it might not, though he is 26, he's a first baseman. He's asking for money that is double the biggest first baseman contract ever, Miggy Cabrera's extension, 8-year extension, $248 million. So, like, you're asking for twice as much money anyone who plays your position's ever gotten. So there's going to be some hesitation there. But they think that if they wait, the longer they wait, the better they can prove that other teams are going to need him. That means maybe guys get hurt. Maybe some teams get rid of their first baseman. Some teams have first basemen that don't play very well, and they kind of fall out of favor, and now they need a first baseman next year when they don't need it right now. All of those things could go in Vladdy's favor. Conversely, the longer the team waits, the more that number could come down for the opposite reasons. So now it's a wait and see how markets kind of coalesce or not. And but at the end of the day, Toronto wants to pay less, and Vladdy wants to be paid more. It's just the way it works. And eventually, these things will move those numbers closer together, and that's why it's just not happening right out the gate. So I expect him to end up there, but because I just don't think there's another team that will be able to build this market that he wants. He's going to get a lot less money somewhere else, probably. Finally, last piece of news, and an interesting one. The Angels and Ron Washington, their manager, pictured here, banning cell phones in the clubhouse. Let me read you a little quote here from Ron Washington. Now, the rules have extended outside the clubhouse, said the 72-year-old Washington, who's the second season in the helm with the Angels. Right now, they're in the hallways in here, right outside the team's clubhouse. Now it's going to be completely out of the goddamn clubhouse building. It's not punishment. I just want some focus. Okay, so I'm interested to hear your guys' take on a rule like this, because I know there's a ton of people out there like, well, it's like school. Like, kids shouldn't have it in school. Yeah, but kids are kids. These are grown-ups. And they're not in school. They're at their place of work, and there is only so much that can be exercised, in my opinion. Now, I have no problem with having rules like this. Rules are good. Rules are great. But heavily enforced rules, stifling rules, this is one of those. I call this a stifling rule. The more of these you have, the more you kind of just feel kind of like you're being told what to do constantly. And it makes it hard to play loose, even though it's not really related. But I was a person who'd go put my phone up, and unless I had I needed to take a 10-minute break between the things I was doing or something, that was the only time the phone ever came out. And it was usually where I would be standing in my locker. Once I sat down, the phone had to go. I just didn't like it. I'd get in these loops, and then it was hard to get going again. So I just kind of stopped doing it. Wasn't really even conscious. So I'm a big fan of limiting your phone use, but I think that's just discipline that a professional athlete has to have by himself. If you don't have it, I don't know what to tell you. If you can't stop looking at your phone, you have bigger problems. It's hard. He's right. You got to focus. But classic Ron Washington, he's about the most old school guy on the planet, and forcing things generally doesn't work. It's like, hey, guys, hang out with each other. There's a chance they don't like each other, Ron, that much. I liked my teammates, but did I constantly go out all the time with them? And I didn't. I was more of a solo guy, right? And this would have made me kind of miserable, forcing me to do something that I don't like to do that much. So it's interesting. It's a way to think about it. But the way he's approaching it is like he's at a Division II college coach, and it's very college. It's a very college rule, and I'd be like, okay, us having cell phones in our clubhouse is not the reason that we win only 70 games every year in and year out. That's not the reason. It's another one of those things that's just it's a little bit of lip service in my opinion, but they seem to like it. The guys have said they liked it, so teach their own. but he's not feeling very happy for it. The rules will be the same during the regular season. Washington said the baseball veteran had the same rule when he managed the Texas Rangers from 2007 to 2014. During that time, veterans Michael Young, Adrian Beltre, and Ian Kinsler enforced the policy. See, now that there's players enforcing it, all about it. But if the manager has to go in there and say, hey, pay up, then it's not going to work very well. It just isn't. But hey, who knows? Do I think the Angels are going to have a great year? I don't. I think we're in for more of the same, but I do hope we have a Mike Trout of old. I really, really hope that is something that we have.